Okay, folks, we're back. In here, I want to show you that, well, what I'm doing with these wheel wells at this point. So, this is not fastened yet, but what I needed to do and to get some uniformity, some consistency, if you will, between the large gear door and the small gear door, was to skin this area out here, and to do it in such a way that it would help me to maintain that kind of a uniform airfoil shape on the underside of the wing. What does that mean? So, well, like I said, a couple of things. One, the door, if the gear is going to lay flat against the underwing surface, it should be against a uniform surface. In other words, if I'm concerned about this door here and this door being here, there's a huge inconsistency, a huge gap in the surface between what I have here and what I would have here. Even if I used filler to sort of get there, filler's not as good as a consistent underlying surface. Filler can sand much quicker than, let's say, the birch ply. So I'd have ended up with something that, anyway, didn't have that uniformity, didn't have that shape that I wanted, or that I would have to work diligently to try and sand that shape in, and it would be much dicier than doing it this way. So we're doing it this way, right? So how do we get to first of all, what's happening with this? So it's going to attach flush against this edge, and as you can see, the underlying cutout is different. And that happened because there is really no plan, in other words, no literal plan, no drawing that indicated where to cut this out. And once again, this is my addition, this 3-layered skin on the bottom of the wing, which I imposed just so that I could get a sort of a more realistic airfoil shape here than just a flat bottom wing. So here we are now in a backfill situation. That's me backfilling to try and get what I need, utilizing what I have done. So the door, you can see, has been skinned on the backside, reinforced and thickened as it is on the prototype aircraft. And well, this pad fits just neatly inside of the opening. You can see I may need to do a little more finish sanding, but we'll get a flush fit that fits just inside of the slot. And I think I will need to do just a bit more sanding to get that complete. And you know, that based on the thickness of this material versus the thickness of my pad, of my backing material, you see we still have about a 0.5 millimeter reveal here. So ideally what I would do then is cut out that 0.5 mil depth here. In other words, we'll take a pencil, mark out this area, and actually I want to go deeper than what it shows here. But let's just draw our lines for now, and that's wiggling, so that's not good. There we go. All right. So what I would do is not cut to the line, but cut beyond the line, because the skin is going to overlap the difference. And what you want is more as we have here, this overlaps the opening, which is true to the prototype. In other words, this depth isn't flush to the fairing, it's behind and underneath of the fairing. So the cutout would actually come back to about here. So instead of cutting to this line, if I were going to actually do this, I would be cutting all the way back, let's say, another full millimeter or two beyond this line, on both sides. Beyond this line, back here is where the actual cut would be. But it would only need to be to a depth of, well, this thickness, this difference between my reinforcing pad, this, and this, which, as it appeared earlier, is about a half a millimeter difference. So all I'd have to do is just trace a line here, and then come back with the blade and slice it out this way. And then using a sanding block, something fine, and just make it nice and consistent. And then paint it with the interior green, zinc chromate green color. And that's what we're working on here. So right now I'm getting ready to cut out the other side, this one, which is essentially this. I just have to make sure that I put its cutout in the proper spot. Now this almost looks like it could flip over and work on this side, and it could. I just have to double check that and make sure. So I'll either use this as a template for this, or I'll make certain markings and check it and make sure that it works before we do that. But one way or another, this part will be cut out and adhered to that side, and then, as I said, we'll mark out whatever the cutaway needs to be here to make that look right. Now the other issue we have, and you all know this, is if you're a P-47 aficionado, airplane guy, and you're knowledgeable about how this gear works, this landing gear was a difficult choice for me to replicate for a couple of reasons. One, in order for this to work properly, it would have needed to have this functioning, this suspension working. And I say that why? Because this door in the gear down position while sitting on the ground, this door overlaps this one. This door overlaps this one about like so. But as the gear comes up, obviously the airplane is off the ground, the landing gear is unloaded, and this extends outward, which pulls the door along with it until it is in a position to lie flush against this surface. So in retracted position, the gear is like this, but in the extended position, and while the aircraft is on the ground, this door overlaps this one like so. I gotta get this in the right, spot. So how am I gonna, make mine work? Well, what I thought I would do is hinge this at the top, just use a simple pivot, probably a length of tubing with a rod through it that's bent in a C shape that would then insert into the top of this gear. So it would be hinged out here like so, just enough to move this far, and then the lower end, I just have a loop of metal that would be glued into the door, but not glued to the landing gear leg, such that it would be able to slide away and in and away. I'll have to check and make sure that I can get the length of that loop to fit before striking anything inside of the, in other words, if that loop can't move, I'm going to be stuck with a door that's going to sit out here. If there's room for that loop to slide into this opening deep enough, that this method should work. And then to go along with that, I'll have to remove about this much material from my doubler so that this fits flush over the top of that. I won't be able to get it to do this, but I will be able to get it to lie flat against here at least, which will give us some semblance, you know, a close approximation of a retracted landing gear P-47. It'll overlap, but it'll lie flat against here. It'll just be this cutaway about 1/4 of an inch. It'll still look, you know, decent on the aircraft in the landing gear down position, hopefully. I think it will. And it will also, you know, that'll have the benefit of helping it to look at least a little more flush in the retracted position. So that's the hope anyway. So hinged at the top and able to move out just slightly in the extended position, and then I'll push this in and then retract the gear, and we should have a nice flush look in retraction. Right? Hopefully. I mean, hopefully, allegedly, possibly, potentially, you know, all that. So once these are, this fairing is glued to that one. Let me remove this for clarity. So once this is adhered here on both sides, I'll be able to begin the filler. So we'll lay filler all the way around it pretty broadly, and then sand it off onto the wing in such a way that it just to blend this into the underwing surface, so to the point that you can't see this, you can't tell this is separate from this material. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be the that's the plan anyway. We'll have to see how we execute the plan, how close we get. Right, but again, I'm trying to do justice to the airplane. I'm trying to get these features built into it best I can, engineering this stuff on the fly, making corrections, making changes. You know, the other thing I might do, I don't know. No, I think I'm just going to do it that way. The other option was to slot the top of this gear and then reduce this to fit inside of that slot, if you will. But I think what I'll do is just cut away what I need to cut away. The only reason for doing it the other way was to try and maintain some sort of this sort of look where we had the doubler and so forth, but cutting it in down here and leaving a small section of it and then cutting this in so that they fit would not only, I mean, it sort of deforms this part from the prototype, and it sort of deforms this part from the prototype, and I think if I just choose one or the other instead of trying to cut into both parts and making both of them look a little bit less than scale, might not be the way to go. So I'm going to do it, I think, just this way, as I described. Okay, so this is where we're at on the project today. And you know, it's coming along. I'm still working on it. There are a number of videos yet to be posted. This will be one of those. So but as of, you know, whatever date this is it's a Monday, and well, hell, what day is it? It's June 27. We're almost to the end of the you know, we're almost to the end of the month, heading into summer. Long hot summer. I'll be out here plugging away at this, trying to get her done. But this is what I like to do, right? I mean, I don't know why. I just to do so anyway, this is the project. This is where it stands. And you can see there's still a ton of work to do on this wing. I still have to finish the machine guns. They're all going to be removable right up until the wing is complete, painted, finished. I probably won't even install them until after I get all the panel lines drawn onto this thing. So you can see that's a long way to go, and that's just to get the wing done. And then we still have the fuselage work to do around the cowling area, around the cockpit area and around the tail and the rudder area, and that's not to mention even the tail wheel section still needs to be built up. Lots of work to do, but it's progressing. I haven't stopped. Again, I'm not really stalled on the thing. It's just it took a little time to come up with this idea, and skinning this, and you can see how it matches almost to the wing profile, right? And that's not by accident. So anyway, here we are. Work continues. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone's patience. I know it's been a long haul on the P-47 project. I do have other projects behind this one. We have the C-47 DC-3 project to come in Balsa. That's the Guillow 132 scale kit. And I have the F4 Corsair, not the F4 Phantom, the F4F Corsair. And what do we have? What else do we have here? And the F3F Grumman barrel. Got one of those in Balsa to build. It's also, I think, 132 scale. 124 scale. Mixing it up, right? 1/16 scale for this and the Corsair, 132 scale for the C-47, and 1/24 scale for the Grumman barrel. These are the projects that I have here. They're going to be the ones I do next, probably. There's also another plane in that pile, a German warbird, World War II era aircraft that I've had sitting there and been thinking about. And so that's also in the stash, or whatever they call it, or pile of kits I have over here to my right. Right, so anyway, work continues on the Jug. Doing the best I can to, pay homage to the original aircraft, Mr. Seversky and his Republic P-47. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day.